The temperature has dropped so low that every breath feels like you're swallowing knives. Snow stretches to the horizon. The wind screams through the empty land. Your fingers have gone numb. Your stomach has been empty for days. There are no houses, no blankets, no supermarkets, and no rescue is coming. Now ask yourself one question: how far would you go to survive? For ancient humans, this wasn't a nightmare, it was everyday life. During the Ice Age, much of Europe and Asia became a frozen wilderness, or winter wasn't just a season, it was an endless battle against death. Yet somehow, our ancestors survived conditions that would kill many modern people within days. But they didn't survive because they were stronger than us. They survived because they were willing to do things most of us couldn't even imagine. And some of those choices were darker than anyone expected. The biggest enemy wasn't actually the cold, it was hunger. When heavy snow covered the ground, plants disappeared, rivers froze, and the great herds they depended on often moved hundreds of miles away. A failed hunt didn't simply mean skipping dinner. It could mean an entire family slowly freezing. The human body can't produce enough heat without enough calories. That's why ancient hunters treated every animal like treasure. They ate the meat, they saved the fat, they dried what they couldn't finish. And then they did something that surprised archaeologists. They smashed open fresh bones. At first, researchers thought the broken bones found at Ice Age camps had cracked naturally over time. But the break patterns told a different story. Ancient humans were deliberately breaking them to reach the rich bone marrow hidden inside. That soft, fatty marrow was packed with energy. During winter, fat mattered even more than meat. A person can eat plenty of lean meat and still become dangerously weak without enough fat, a condition modern survival experts sometimes call rabbit starvation. Our ancestors didn't understand the science, they understood survival. Nothing edible was wasted, but even food couldn't solve another terrifying problem: fire. Today, starting a fire takes seconds. For ancient humans, losing a fire could be a death sentence. Keeping flames alive through freezing nights became one of the most important jobs in camp. Someone always had to protect the fire because making a new one wasn't easy, especially during storms or heavy snow. Then scientists noticed something strange. Some Ice Age camps contained far less burned wood than expected. So what were they burning? The answer shocked researchers. In many cold, treeless regions, ancient people burned dry animal dung. It produced steady heat and was available even when wood was almost impossible to find. Even today, some communities living in harsh environments still use the same method. To survive, ancient humans stopped caring where warmth came from. Warmth was warmth. The same thinking changed how they built their homes. In parts of Eastern Europe, archaeologists uncovered circular shelters built from mammoth bones. Imagine sleeping inside a house held together by the skeleton of one of the largest animals to ever walk the earth. Those giant bones weren't decorations. They were survival, covered with thick animal hides. These shelters trapped precious heat while blocking freezing winds. Entire families crowded together inside because sleeping close to one another reduced heat loss. Privacy disappeared, comfort disappeared. Staying alive was the only thing that mattered. But winter still kept taking lives. Sometimes hunting parties never returned. Blizzards erased footprints within minutes. Frozen rivers cracked without warning. A single wrong step could end everything. And that's when another surprising truth appears. The strongest person wasn't always the most valuable. The smartest was. Older members of the group remember where animals migrated during difficult winters. They knew which valleys stayed warmer and where fresh water could still be found beneath the ice. Archaeological evidence even shows people with severe injuries who lived for years after breaking bones. They could only have survived because others fed and protected them. In one of the harshest environments humans have ever faced, kindness became a survival strategy. But nature doesn't always reward kindness. Sometimes food became so scarce that families faced impossible choices. Archaeologists have found human bones at several prehistoric sites carrying the same cut marks and broken patterns normally seen on butcher animals. These discoveries suggest that in a few desperate situations, some groups practiced cannibalism not as ritual, but as a final attempt to survive starvation. It's one of the darkest chapters of human history. And it's important to understand something. This wasn't normal life, it wasn't common. It happened during moments of extreme desperation, when death surrounded everyone. When faced with starving to death or making an unimaginable choice, survival sometimes won. That uncomfortable truth reminds us just how brutal the Ice Age really was. But perhaps the greatest surprise isn't what ancient humans did, it's what they became. Over thousands of years, evolution favored people whose bodies held heat more efficiently. Stockier builds, shorter limbs, and better cold tolerance slowly became advantages in freezing climates. At the same time, humans developed something even more powerful than physical adaptation: cooperation. They shared food, shared knowledge, shared shelter, shared fire. No single person defeated the Ice Age alone. Entire communities survived because they depended on each other. Looking back, it's easy to admire our ancestors for their courage. But courage wasn't enough. Every sunrise demanded another impossible decision. Every snowfall tested the limits of human endurance. Every winter forced them to choose between comfort and survival. Sometimes between morality and survival. The darkest things ancient humans did weren't driven by cruelty. They were driven by one simple instinct that still lives inside every one of us today. The instinct to survive. And the fact that you're here, watching this now, is proof that somehow against impossible odds they did. If this story changed the way you see human history, subscribe now. Because the next secret our ancestors left behind is even darker.